Alright, so you've heard the Air Force has tons of jobs, but no one tells you what they really are, how to get it, or what's realistic. So let me break it down honestly from someone who's actually in the Air Force. So before we get started with the video, I just want to let y'all know that I am not representing the DoD, and everything I say in this video are from my own personal opinions or with things that I have seen firsthand. Cool? Cool. Alright, now let's talk Air Force careers, because most people have no idea how many opportunities there are in the Air Force. So let me break this down into categories so that you are not overwhelmed. Starting off, we have aviation, which has pilots, boom operators, and load masters. Cyber and IT, which is cybersecurity, networking, and programming. Medical, including med techs, dental, aerospace, medical, and physical therapy. Intelligence, including analysts, linguists, and targeting. Maintenance, which is aircraft, engine, and avionics. Security forces and law enforcement, which includes security forces and OSI. Logistics and support is supply, transportation, finance, and personnel. And engineering and civil, electricians, HVAC, pavement, construction, people like that. Now, when people say the Air Force has jobs for everybody, this is what they mean. And right here I have a list of a bunch of entry-level jobs that anybody can join with a basic ASVAB score, depending on your line scores. To break down line scores real quick, there's a section in the ASVAB, which is your AFQT, that is mainly what your ASVAB is scored on, and those line scores are for job-specific areas. A line score would be something like mechanical, or your engineering, or your putting things together areas of scoring. All right, now that we have the entry-level jobs out the way, let's get into the college level or prerequisite jobs that are in the Air Force. This is more of the competitive stuff that you also need a higher ASVAB score for. So here we have cybersecurity, intelligence analyst, a linguist, engineering, medical roles, or officer jobs like pilot, intelligence officer, or logistics officer. To become a loadmaster, which is a pretty well-desired job, you don't need college. With that out the way, let me tell you about my job. I am an aircraft armament systems specialist. What I do is I basically am a maintainer. I go to work and I maintain the aircraft's armament systems, right? I'll work on the miniguns or like missile launcher or something. Not getting into specifics. This is just kind of overall, right? Anyways, I'll also load these munitions onto the aircraft and send them off to war. So if we're in a wartime scenario, they got people like me to kill the bad guys. So yeah, that breaks it down real quick. I think the biggest thing I like about my job is the work is pretty laid back and the people here are freaking dope. I know that with any job, the work is gonna suck in some kind of way, but the people are what typically make your job worth it. If I were to get a second choice on the job I had, I personally most likely would have gone maybe security forces, OSI, or something within the medical field, just because those translate over to the civilian world so much better than a dude that loads a bunch of bombs. All right, now here's what nobody ever tells you, and this is how to get the job you actually want. Tip number one is your ASVAB score should be above anything else. That is the number one thing that matters when it comes to getting the job that you want. Also know that there are some rare jobs in the Air Force. Medical jobs don't come around too often, and something maybe like public affairs doesn't come around often at all. Those are jobs you see maybe once every couple months to once every year. So know that the jobs for that are pretty scarce just because people already got those jobs and they're staying in. All right, tip number two sounds pretty obvious, but it is to ask your recruiter for a job list before joining. This is to see kind of what's available and what's not. They're gonna give you this list and it's gonna show different colors on what's available and what's not. For me, I think it was like the green jobs and the yellow jobs are the ones that you'd most likely get, and then the red jobs are ones that come around very rarely. Again, this is to see what jobs there actually are. I didn't really break down every single job, but I give you every section of what kind of jobs the Air Force has. Now, my final tip here is arguably the most important one, and that is to not get impatient while getting in the Air Force. Let me tell you this story. One time I was in a class for a bunch of brand new airmen, and when I met this one guy, I asked him like what job was he in. He was in a maintenance shop and told me that originally his number one job was a medical job. And I was like, dude, what the heck? Why did you take this job? He basically told me, yeah, man, these quick ships, I mean, I got an extra $5,000 because I was able to ship off sooner. If I didn't wait a month or two, I wouldn't have got the money. And I asked him, I said, do you regret this? He said, yeah, medical would have translated so much better to the civilian world. So with that being said, you guys have to be patient when it comes to waiting for your job. Even if that keeps you in debt for way longer, wait for the job, because the job you're in is going to be what your life is for the next 4 to 6 years. And let me tell you, when you're in the Air Force, currently in the job that you have, and it being your life, it's gonna feel like a minute. You might think like, oh my gosh, you know, it doesn't matter. I'm just gonna do my 4 years and get out. It's gonna be a long 4 years for you, buddy. I'm not gonna lie. All right, let's go over what you need to get started when it comes to joining the Air Force. Starting with number 1 is studying for your ASVAB. Your ASVAB being the top of the list, and the thing that's gonna actually get you in the Air Force is the thing that you probably need to prioritize one of the most. Number 2 is to pick your top 3 job categories and to get all your medical paperwork together. Your medical paperwork is like, it's like this freaking thick. It's gonna be a lot, but you're gonna need to give this to your recruiter so you go through all of it. Number 3 is to get in shape and stay in shape for basic training. Trust me, it's gonna help you. In the Air Force, just barely implemented PT every single duty day. So to be honest with you, it's just gonna help you out overall. And the last tip I have for you is to set a realistic timeline for your recruiter. I'm not gonna lie, if recruiters see that you wanna join the Air Force within 1 year or 2 years of you getting in contact with them, they're not really gonna be pushing you to get in. Matter of fact, recruiters for the Air Force have actually been easily meeting their recruiting standards. So it's gonna take yourself more work to get in the Air Force because these recruiters are not calling you and they're not bugging you to get you in. If they see that you don't have it together and they need to hold your hand through the whole process, you're a lot less desirable for them to actually push through the process and get in the Air Force. So if you've already studied for the ASVAB and you have all your medical paperwork together and they see you're motivated and want to join, they're gonna be pushing to get you in quick. The Air Force is one of the most opportunity heavy places that you can start life fresh out of high school. You can learn a trade, go to college for free, get paid to go to college, go on deployments, travel the whole world, and meet so many people. So with that being said, if you guys are looking on joining and need tips for the ASVAB, I made a video right here about the tips and tricks that helped me when it came to taking the ASVAB. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and as always, have a blessed day.